Is it working? Okay, hi guys, and welcome to one final card review reveal from the mean streets of Gadgetzan. Basically, what happened with the Blizzard guys? There's been like a few days, and then overnight, like a couple of dozen cards have been released. And now we just suddenly have all the 132 cards out there, and the expansion is gonna come sooner than we expect. It's actually going to roll out on December 1st if you are living in the Americas, and the second if you are living in Europe and I think Asia. Not sure about Asia, but yeah, mostly because fuck Europe. That's why. But yeah, we have all the cards. And this will be the last card review video. We're going to go right ahead and go right through all of them, see what's up, and then at the end of it, I'm going to give my final opinion and prediction about how the meta will shift with the introduction of this new expansion. So, without further ado, let's go further on. We have first the Druid, which has a new card. Alright, a new rare card. Celestial Dreamer. 3 mana, free, that has the battle cry. If your friendly minion has 5 or more attack, gain +2/+2. So another like conditional buff, but I think this one is slightly better because because it's cheaper. That's the main idea of it, and because it's cheaper, you can play this in conjunction with another card that has the condition that it requires the 5 or more attack. Like for example, you can play this with I don't know, Druid of the Flame on turn 6, you know, a 5/2, and this will become a 5/5. You can play it with Savage Combatant on turn 7. You can play it with like Stranglethorn Tiger on turn 8, or with even the Ancient of War on turn 10. It's a pretty reasonably strong tempo play, a 5/10 with Taunt, and this which will become a 5/5. So yeah, this has the chance to see a little bit more play than the other conditional kind of cards like Fight Promoter. It was that I reviewed last time. Now, how much play it will see, I think that is that is kind of hard to tell. Constructed right now is way more busted than this, and I'm not sure if it will be enough. As for Arena, I think it might be just good enough. I mean, it's a 3 mana free, which is not it's not great, but it's not too terribly horrible. And yeah, you can play it in the late game. As I mentioned before, there are a lot of cards in the late game that have a 5 or more attack, and you can basically pair them up with this card and create a stronger board push. So yeah, it might see a little. I might see some playing arena and maybe some playing constructed, but I'm kind of on the edge about the constructed side of things. Alright, then we have Hunter, which has a few more cards, and the first one is Smuggler's Crate, similar to Smuggler's Run from Paladin. This one is another 1 mana spell, common spell, give a random beast in your hand +2/+2. So another conditional buff in hand kind of card. It's not that terrible. I mean, 1 mana +2/+2 is good on paper, and it targets beast, and hunter does have some very good synergies with cards that are in hand. We have like Rat Pack and Dispatch Kodo, I think it was called, or yeah, Dispatch Kodo. So and those both are beasts, and even the Hunter Legendary, the Knuckles, even that one synergizes with additional buff in hands. So yeah, in those kind of regards, I think Smuggler's Crate is actually okay. Now, the problem with the card is that the same one that I have mentioned before, you cannot really control which card it hits, and constructed is more based on minion synergy and less based on actual like minion body. But if you hit like a if you hit a small minion with it, then it might be okay. Again, it depends what minion you hit and if you can play it right away. and at the same time you have to put this card into your deck in order to get that. And if you have it, if you draw it like a top deck and you don't have any beasts in your hand, it's pretty bad. So yeah, it's back and forth like that. But I think out of the buffing card hands, this and the Bother Trog have the probably the biggest chance to see play. I'm not sure. In arena, once again, depends on how many beasts you can draft. But I don't really think I would pick this in arena because it's a very small chance that you can draft things that synergize with the buff in hand cards, and you really need to draft like a lot of like cheap beasts in order to play well with this card. So yeah, probably might see a little bit of constructed play in some sort of minion based beast hunter deck, and that will be it. Let's just end it there. Then we have Alley Cat. This is a 1 mana 1/1 that summons a 1/1. This is it's a beast, and I think the 1/1 cat that is summoned by it is also a beast. So similar to Possessed Villager, it's in some ways it's stronger than Possessed Villager because it's distributed on and the Raven. Uh, I forgot what it was called, the Druid one, which was a 1 mana 2/2. This is exactly the same, another 1 mana 2/2, but it's distributed on two bodies, which is better in certain regards because you can deliver two pings with them, and they are better if they receive like buffs from things like Leok or God forbid Timberwolf, if that card will ever see play. However, they are obviously weaker to board clears, and there are tons and tons and tons of board clears and 1 mana clears in constructed right now. There's Maelstrom Portal, Fan of Knives, Arcane Missiles with Flame Waker. There is Ghoul. There is Whirlwind and Revenge. There is uh, fucking there are tons of them. So yeah, I don't think this card will see too much play in constructed. However, it's a pretty solid arena card. I can say that much. It's a common card. You'll see it pretty often. A 1 mana 2/2 distributed on two bodies that both have the beast tag. I think it's a pretty solid arena card for hunters. So it might lift up Hunter a little bit in arena, but not too much. Obviously, this single card on its own can't make the difference. So I don't think it will see constructed play. I think also this card has been introduced in order to nerf the 1 mana random card generations, like for example Maelstrom Portal, which and the Savage, not Savage, the Mounted Raptor, because 1 drops are pretty good on average, and you will need some shittier 1 drops to be generated in order to balance the stronger ones. So I think that's one of the reasons why this card has been designed. Yeah, not have my doubts about constructed play, but I think a solid arena card all in all. And finally, for Hunter, we have a new secret, the Hidden Cache. 2 mana after your opponent plays a minion, give a random minion in your hand +2/+2. So I mean, it's okay because they bring in more secrets. So if you're playing in Wild, where there are all the secrets available, it's gonna be even more work for your opponent to try to figure out what secret it is. But I think as actual value, it's really not that great. I mean, you know, it's a 2 mana +2/+2. If we put it like as sheer value, which is already below average, is you have the paladin one, the divine strength, or what's it called, which is a 1 mana +1/+2, and it doesn't see any play apart from some aggro decks. So yeah, it's kind of it's not really that valuable. It's conditional based on what your opponents play. You don't get the effect right away, and you can't control what minion gets the effect after it. So I think that it's an overall bad card, except if you are really, really trying to make a deck with buff in hands work. Then maybe it will be better in that kind of deck. But the problem is that there are way better secrets out there for Hunter, like Freezing Trap is so much more powerful, and right now Secret Hunter is like the top tier like the strongest hunter deck out there, and you don't really want that secret to play in that kind of deck. So yeah, probably I have doubts if it will see any constructed play, and it's pretty weak for arena as well. So that's just my 1-2 of this card. Then we have Mage. For Mage, we have a few new interesting cards. We have Great Arcane Missiles. I actually thought about this card and I thought it would be very cool if something like this existed. And hey, lo and behold, here we have it. It's a 7 mana, shoot 3 missiles at random enemies that deal 3 damage each, you know. So you have the Arcane Missiles that shoot 3 1 damage missile. This one will shoot 3 damage missiles, you know. So that's pretty cool. You know, it's a like a stronger version. Now the problem is that as cool of a design as that is, it's 7 mana, and that is pretty expensive for an effect that it's probably it's kind of weak. You know, I mean. You can use it to deal damage to face, and if the opponent doesn't have any minions on board, and that's 7 mana, deal 9, which is almost as Pyroblast, which also nobody plays in Constructed. And if it's not, then you can use it like some sort of quasi board clear, but it's just like it's way too expensive, you know. It's yeah, I don't think this will see that much play. It's just like the effect is cool. It might have some strong, you know, potential out of it, but it's just like it's way too expensive for its effect. Like the arcane missiles, the regular one is 1 mana, and for like an effect that is like, let's say 3 times stronger, you're paying 7 times the amount of mana. So I don't really think so. If it was like maybe probably at 5 mana, I think it would see play, but at 7 mana, I don't really think so. So probably it's probably like a nerf to things like Babbling Book, so they won't give you like the spell that you need to win the game. And yeah, it's pretty bad, and it's pretty bad in arena as well. So it's cool in design, but it's bad in actual usefulness. So I will say a pass on this one. Then we have Cryomancer. It's a 5 mana 5/5 common. Battle cry gain +2/+2 if an enemy is frozen. It's an interesting effect. There are not that many, you know, freezing kind of synergy. You know, there is the freeze mage deck, but that freeze mage deck functions completely differently that one you think. You know, you do freeze the board and you do play ice block and ice barrier, and you do throw frostbolt and ice lance at your opponent's face. But the main idea of it is that you delay and you just you know, combo your opponent to death, you know. But there's not like actual on board presence of like you know, freezing effects, and this card might help that to become a thing, you know. There is this card, there is that 4 mana 2/4 that freezes an enemy when you play a spell. So you know, that card is pretty bad, but maybe with this card it will see a little bit of play. It's half decent in arena. I mean, it's a 5 mana 5/5, so it's not too terrible. It's not a pit fighter, and it also synergizes the new card that has been released for Mage as well, which is the Freezing Potion. So another potion that can be given to you by Cabal, the Cabal Potion. It's a 0 mana freeze an enemy. Yeah, not an enemy minion, just an enemy. So you cannot like target it on the face. So similar to like the freezing coolant, or what it was called, the freeze spare part from GVG. Just that it's a class card, so since it's a class card, it's understandable for it to be stronger. It only costs 0 mana, and you know, it can freeze an enemy, so it can also be targeted at face. You know, if you're playing against an opponent that has weapons, or if you want to freeze it in order to combo it with ice lance, but you don't have a frostbolt, or if you want to use it in conjunction with the cryomancer, but the opponent doesn't have any minions, then you can use it. And yeah, you can basically use it on turn 5, freeze something, and play a 5 mana 7/7. It's not a 4 mana 7/7, but it's not too far off. You know, it's decent, and who knows? Maybe it will make Shatter viable. The problem with this card is that it's really a card that requires something else in order to be playable. You wouldn't really put this card in your deck, just for its own effect. Like it just delaying an enemy minion for one turn is simply not strong enough even for 0 mana. So the reason you want to put it in is to combo it with either, you know, Shatter, Ice Lance, or Cryomancer. And yeah, when you're talking about two cards combo, those don't happen that frequently. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that those are like really that strong. And yeah, other than that, that card is just really not that great. So unless well, we might see some new kind of freeze mage appear, but I really have doubts about its viability. So it will need way more than the freezing potion and cryomancer for it to work. So that's my general idea of it. And freezing potion is also pretty bad in arena, so don't pick that if you know what's good for yourself. For priest, we have two more cards. We have the greater healing potion, which is a 4 mana restore 12 health to a friendly character. It's okay. I mean, it's decent. 4 mana, restore 12. We have like what? We have the healing. We have the healing touch for druid, which is 3 mana, heal for 8. So yeah, for 1 extra mana, you heal for 4 more. So it's pretty much just like balanced, not too impressive, but not too bad. Yeah, it's also okay that it has the friendly character attached to it, so you cannot really transform it into damage with Ocean Eye. So you don't give like more tools to like a combo priest. And yeah, it's basically another control card to allow priest to survive. You can. It can be pretty good if you're like if you receive a burn from Alex Straza, for example. You can use that to heal yourself to a reasonable amount, and then also use like you still have like 6 more mana left to deal with Alex Straza. And yeah, it can also be used maybe against aggro decks. Very sorry for that. So yeah, that's pretty much it with Great Healing Potion. It might see some plane constructed in some sort of like control priest deck maybe, or possibly fatigue priest deck. Maybe even in the Reno one to have like an additional heal. It's pretty good. In arena, I don't think it's really that good enough. I mean, heals are strong, but having like a spell that does just healing is not really that great. And as we have said before, board control and board impact is way more powerful. I mean, this spell is only good if you can play it and then follow it up with a board clear. Which I mean, you can do that with Dragonfire Potion, but the chance to get both of those in arena are pretty small, so I wouldn't count on that. And we also have Cabal Song Stealer, which is just another silence that it's attached to a minion, a 5/5 minion, which, well, I mean, it's not that great. For 5 mana, the 5/5 is understated. I'm afraid to say that. For 5 mana, you're looking for a 5/6. And it silences a minion, which is worth like, we have this priest spell that silences a minion, that's worth 0 mana. So I really don't see a reason why this wouldn't be like a 5/6. If you're really going to design a card in this regard, you can at least make it like just like if it were literally a regular drop combined with a card, and that's what you're looking for when when you're playing a card like this. You're looking, you want something that has two effects into one card rather than having two cards to do that. So yeah, but since it's weaker, it will probably not see that much play. Silence is not really that used, and it's pretty expensive. You can run like a silence, if you really want to. Silence is very rarely run, that's what I want to say, and it's mostly run as a tech card, as a one-off in certain control or Reno decks. And yeah, I don't see why you want to run this one. I mean, it's sure it has a stronger body than Spellbreaker, but at the same time, it's like more more expensive. So that's the big issue while you're running silence, that you cannot like silence something and then play something along with it, so you can make a stronger tempo push. That's why the Iron Beak All was nerfed from 2 mana to 3 mana, and since then it didn't really see that much play. So yeah, I have some doubts if this will see any play in arena. Well, it's common, so we'll see it kind of often, but yeah, it's not really that strong. It's just decent. Let's say like a decent card, and I guess consider like how many other strong cards Priest gets. I guess it's okay if they get like just a decent card, just to like balance them out a little bit. Like let's not make Priest too insane. It's just okay. Nothing more, nothing less. Just okay. And we're moving on to Rogue. First we have Shadow Rager. I mean, it's better than Magma Rager, I guess. 3 mana, 5/1 with stealth. So you can play it, and it has a bigger chance to survive on the board, and then you can use it to like trade with stuff, or hell, you can use it with Shadow Sensei on curve, and you can play the 4/4 and the Shadow Rager before it will become a 6/3. My pardon, it will become a 7/3. That's a quite an outstanding minion. But yeah, I don't think it will really see that much play. Once again, there are just like way, way, way too many one damage board clears, and even with the potential to like combo it with Shadow Sensei, I don't think it's really that viable. I don't know. I might be wrong. When you're thinking about something that could potentially become a 7/3 on turn 4, it is a slightly scary prospect. But yeah, I don't know. I have seen bad things before with this happen, and I mean, once again, Rogue already has the conceal, and he could have played Magma Rager and conceal it if you really wanted to make that combo, and yeah, that just never happened. Not it didn't even happen with Ice Rager, which was a 5/2. Never mind with like a 5/1. So I just really have doubts if it will see any play in arena. It's common, so it will be quite it will appear quite often for Rogue to peak, and that's a little bit unfortunate. uh I mean, it's like borderline okay for arena. I think that's like my main idea of it. You might be able to play it, but even in arena, there's like things like people pick Mad Bomber and Flame Juggler, and those deal with the Shadow Rager in such a punishing way that I would rather not pick it. There are stronger common cards to be picked over Shadow Rager, and that's the main issue with it. Alright, coming right up next, we have a new pirate for Rogue, Lucky Doe Buccaneer. 6 mana 5/5. If your weapon has at least 3 attack, gain +4/+4. So, this is a pretty cool little pirate that we have. It's more of like a mid range slash late game kind of push. It becomes a 6 mana 9/9, and we have seen a few of them out there, and they are pretty strong. And yeah, it's pretty well. It's pretty good at Pirate Rogue. The deck archetype Pirate Rogue is getting this kind of tool, because for the most part, like Pirate Rogue can have like some pretty strong starts, but they do like fizzle out as you go into the late game. And with this thing, you can have a little bit of a bigger push in the late game. You can Rogue can easily obtain a free attack weapon with like its hero power and deadly poison, or you can even play it on curve if you like. On turn 5, you can equip Assassin's Blade, which is a card that hasn't really seen that much play, but I have played it in my pirate deck, and it has made some very spectacular matches. And yeah, you can play that on turn 5, and on turn 6 you can follow it up with this guy, and he becomes a 6 mana 9/9 on curve without any additional cards. This will obviously make Assassin's Blade an even bigger target than before for weapon removal. But yeah, I don't think it's really that bad. So yeah, I'm not sure if this will be enough though. I've been a very big fan of pirate decks, and I've always tried to make pirate decks work. Is most importantly pirate rogue, and I have played a lot with it, but it has never been like a top tier viable deck. It has always been like a sort of like a drag along, maybe tier 3 or 4. And even with this card, this is a pretty strong card in that kind of deck. But even with this card, I don't think it will be enough in order to make Pirate Rogue viable. But who knows? Maybe with this card, with some of the few other pirates that have been released, maybe it will be just like slightly better. Just like maybe it will reach like tier 3. Pirate Rogue. It will still be something, all things considered. All right, those were all for Rogue. Then we have Shaman, which has some pretty cool and new interesting cards. First off, we have a new epic 1 mana Finders Keepers. Discover a card with Overload, Overload 1. So just a standard generic discover card. I think this card is relatively okay. You can have this card. You can discover a bunch of cards, including itself, because it does have Overload. You can discover some burst damage spells like Lightning Bolt or Lava Burst. You can discover some weapons, Doom Hammer, Stormforge Axe, even the new claws. You can discover like Feral Spirits. You can discover some strong board clears. And yeah, it's a pretty cool, versatile card. Obviously, with the discover effect is usually stronger than the pure random effect, and it's always better to like fabricate a card for yourself rather than drawing a card. So in that regard, it's usually better, but it does have the drawback that you actually have to put this card into your deck, and you might not always have the choice from good cards to pick. But I think it's a good card for potential like a control shaman that might become a thing coming up. There's obviously also the 4 mana 7/7 that you can obtain from this card, which I completely forgot. So you're trading basically a deck slot for the potential to have a more versatile answer out of a card. It's a very interesting. I do like this card. And it might see some play, as I said, in those kind of like decks, but it's still an epic, so it's hard to say if it's really worth the investment. And in arena, I'm not sure if it's really that good in arena. I mean, it's better than a draw card for the most part, but still it has the overload, so it's like kind of just barely cutting it. Then we have another epic. We have Lotus Illusionist, a 4 mana 3/5, so just slightly below average for a 4 drop. But after this minion attacks a hero, it doesn't say which hero, so it can work with misdirection if you are thinking that far away. Transform it into a random 6 cost minion. So yeah, it's another sort of evolve effect. But it's only related to this minion, and obviously you can obtain value out of it. You play it as a 4 mana 3/5. It has to survive a turn, and then after you attack with it, it transforms into a random 6 drops, which most of the 6 drops are pretty good. They are strong, like Death Rattle effect 6 drops, like Cairn, like Sylvanas, like Torisan, and many more. The Beast, it's a very solid body. There's obviously like some very poor 6 drops, like we all know. There's been the new big time Racketeer, the 1/1, which will obviously make you like into a very sad panda if you attack with this card and obtain a 1/1 out of it. But yeah, it's a cool card. You can obviously obtain value out of it. it is indeed a bit slow though. It does. It's just a free five, and it does have to survive, and it does have to attack face. I mean, there will always be taunts out there. There will always be some bigger threat that you might want to attack before attacking face. And that's why this card might be a little bit problematic into seeing play. It might see some play in some sort of weird evolve deck, but apart from that, I'm not sure if it will see uh, much else. In arena, I mean, if you have the chance to draft something like this, I think it's okay. It's a decent enough body to survive, and if it attacks face, you can transform it into a bigger body. Now, it becomes a little bit problematic because if you attack face with it, that means that you are sacrificing a little bit of the board presence, because you are not trading with it. So. Yeah, that's why that's the issue with attacking face with it, and that's why it's gonna be a little bit of a tempo loss. But you can get a pretty strong 6 drop, so I think uh, it's probably better in arena, but unfortunately because of its rarity, you'll probably not see it that often in either format. Let's just put it that way. And we have the new Shaman Legendary. We have the White Eyes, 5 mana, 5/5 taunt. Death Rattle, shuffle the Storm Guardian into your deck, which is a 5 mana 10/10 with taunt. You thought you've seen it enough. You thought you saw everything with 4 mana 7/7 with Overload. No, there is a 5 mana 10/10 without Overload. So, yeah, obviously this card is it's very good in like some sort of like control shaman. It has a lot of value in the control like fatigue based shaman, possibly with Death Rattle, with Nazot. The 5 mana 5/5 taunt is not that great, but it's not too bad. It's just basically average stat wise. And obviously, the death rattle, the fact that you shuffle another card into your deck is, always a lot of value. And obviously, the 5 mana 10/10 is pretty strong when you can play it. But yeah, there are a few problems with this. It does have taunts, so that it does allow the enemies to trade into it in order to kill it and in order to be more likely that you are going to get the Storm Guardian. The problem is that, first off, it's a death rattle effect, so that means that it's going to be, targeted by all the sorts of hard removal, silence hard removal, hex, polymorph, and tomb, which is like a massive, pushback because he's putting the card, then he's gonna put the Storm Guardian, so priest is gonna be very annoying, and even with the new pint size potion together with Cabal, you can take control of it, and you don't even need to entomb it and wait to draw it. So yeah, it's pretty problematic in that regard. It can also be taken over with Sylvanas or transform with Think Master Overspark. And the problem with the card that it gives you, like 5 mana 10/10, is pretty strong, but the thing is that on its own, it's just one big minion. If the only thing you can do, the only thing you do is just play a big minion, the opponent is probably going to have like a hard removal for it, So it's only good if you can pair it up with something else, like you play the 5 mana 7/7 and I don't know, like the 5 mana 7/8, the 5 mana 10/10, and then this 5 mana 7/8 taunt, with free overload, or the 5 mana 10/10 and the 4 mana 7/7, and maybe one extra 1 drop, So yeah, that's what you need in order to like properly push the board. If you just play a 5 mana 10/10, then it's also can get very easily removed, and that's even if you even get it. So yeah, the only way you can really make a massive push on the board is if you coin this guy out on turn 4, it dies, then you somehow magically manage to draw the 5 mana 10/10 and play it on turn 5. And it's a massive push, you have to admit for that, but that's a pretty fringe situation that will very likely not happen so often. So yeah, it's a pretty good card for control shaman if it will ever become a viable deck. And yeah, it's very good unless you're facing classes like mage, shaman, and priest, and any other class that doesn't that hopefully doesn't run, Sylvanas or Thinkmaster over Spark or any form of silence. Um, yeah, that's just my one-two with it. So it could be something. I don't know. It's not too terrible, I guess. Who knows? Forgot to say about arena. I think it's pretty solid in arena because you're not. It's much less likely for your opponent to have the silence or hard removal effect, and yeah, it's obviously a lot of value on the long term game. But then again, the problem is that you're not really aiming so much for a long term game in arena. But even if you get it like later on turn 10 and you play the 5 mana 10/10 and together with another 5 drop, it's a pretty solid tempo swing for arena. So it's pretty good in that regard. Right, then we have for Warlock a bunch of new cards, a bunch of new interesting cards. First off, we have Crystal Weaver, 4 mana, 5/4, Battlecry, give your demons +1/+1. So this is a very prime example of an actually balanced card, Not too bad, not too overpowered, just straight up balanced. You have a 4 mana, 5/4, solid stats for a 4 drop. Obviously, it's a little bit problematic because it has less health and it tends to survive less compared to like the very synergistic small minions that are played in constructed. And it has a solid body for a 4 drop, and then it has the added bonus that it can buff your demons on your field with +1/+1. That's pretty good. So it's cool to see this kind of card. It's cool to see that they are trying to push some sort of demon warlock out there. There have been some attempts at making it, but it has never been like strong enough. There's been like a few demon synergistic cards, but they have really been like subpar, and especially without Mal'Ganis, they really have lost any sort of like functionality. I'm not sure if this card is gonna be enough. This is what I wanted to say. Just because this card is like perfectly balanced, the problem is that in constructed things are perfectly broken. So that's why this card will probably not see much play unless some new like tempo minion based demon warlock comes out. In which case this card could be pretty good in that kind of deck, but pretty good, not nothing too spectacular, but it needs a very specific archetype for it to work. And yeah, that's about it. I think it's probably better in arena. Maybe it's an okay 4 drop, and if you can get some demons out there, if you can debuff even like one or two demons, then it's obviously value for arena standards. So yeah, it might see some limited play in some specific decks and some play in arena, but that's about it. Then we have a new spell, a new removal spell, a very powerful removal spell in my opinion, for Warlock. That is the Black Crystal Potion. So yet another potion that you can get from the Cabal, a 4 mana, destroy a minion, and one of your mana crystals. So you sacrifice a mana crystal for destroying a minion. Now, I think this card is like very powerful removal for most of like control warlocks and hand locks and Reno warlocks. The thing is that it's the destroying a mana crystal is an obvious disadvantage, and if it happens like during the game, like if you are forced to use this on turn 4, like say a 4 mana 7/7 for example, then yeah, it's gonna affect you, the fact that you're going to be 1 mana behind. The entire game is gonna be like pretty rough. But the thing is that once you get into the late game, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana, especially at 10 mana, then it's not going to matter if you lose a mana crystal. You're just going to get it back, and at that point, having a 4 mana removal without any conditions, without conditions on attack or health for the minion. It's very solid, it's more much better, than Siphon Soul. Even though the Siphon Soul gives you like a little bit of health, that's not the main reason you're using it. It's because it's an efficient removal, and this one, it's an even more efficient removal. That the fact that it's cheaper is very important, because you can play this and then pair it up with another minion. You can Black Crystal Potion something and then play a 5 drop or a 6 drop, and that tempo swing on the board is very powerful. And I think this card might see some constructed play in like the Bob mentioned Control and Reno Warlock decks. And I think it's actually a pretty good card for Arena as well. It's a very strong removal that the Warlock doesn't have, because Siphon Soul is rare and this one is common, so you're gonna get it more frequently. But once again, you're gonna have to really consider when you play it because of the mana disadvantage, especially if you are forced to play it in the early game. It might put you at like a very big disadvantage, but if you can make it up the way all the way to turn 10, then it's a very solid removal, and it's obviously very good. Nothing to be said about that. Now moving along ahead, we have the epics. We have first the Unlicensed Apothecary, a new demon, 3 mana 5/5, so a very overstated demon, but with a slight disadvantage. Whenever you summon a minion, deal 5 damage to your hero. So obviously this is not the kind of card that you really want to play in a zoo deck, because sure, you get a 3 mana 5/5, but you're in a zoo deck, you really want to fill the board, so you're just gonna pretty much ravage your face immediately by playing this guy, by summoning new things. So it's it's an interesting card that it is good if you just like if you play it on turn 3 and then you don't follow it with like minions, and you try to follow it with like spells and buffs and things like that. You can still follow it with a minion, but 5 damage is really kind of harsh, and it's like repeated 5 damage. You get 5 damage for every minion you summon. Like there is the Pit Lord, which is a 4 mana 5/6, and that deals 6 damage to your face. I think, if I remember correctly, and nobody plays that because it's really a lot of damage. And even though it's a very solid minion, a 5/6 for 4 mana is pretty strong. The damage that you get to your face is obviously not something that you really enjoy, especially as a warlock, because you life tap a lot, you lose life, you have hellfire that self damage you, you have many other cards that self damage you. So having another one on the board really doesn't help you a lot. So it's an interesting card that could see play in some demon decks that are very you really have to consider properly where you play it, but it's gonna be very hard, I think. And yeah, that's kind of the problem. And in arena, well, it's very hard to obtain, and probably very not that great to play. It might be pretty good with Lights Champion. I mean, you can play it and then you can Lights Champion it to silence it, and then you have a 5/5 without any drawbacks. But yeah, I don't really think that's a viable enough combo in order to be playable. And yeah, it might even be a nerf to demons, because there's been some new strong demons released, and they do need to release some weaker ones in order to nerf cards like that card that I forgot its name, that 5 mana card that deals 2 damage and summons a random minion. Obviously, you want some slightly bad demons in order to nerf that card. And yet another one that has been released, and I'm going to mention it right away. That is the Cabal Trafficker, a 6 mana 6/6 that at the end of your turn add a random demon to your hand. So yeah, this is another very like powerful card in terms of like the value that it can generate. It will guarantee you generate at least one demon, because it's at the end of the turn effect. And then the more it stays on the board, the more demons you're gonna get. So you are obviously going to have you can get a lot of value out of it. And yeah, it's solid body, 6 mana, 6/6, but it's also just that and it's obviously going to be targeted as soon as you put it on the board by like heavy removal and hard removal and things like that, board clears, other minions that are on the board. So it's gonna be very hard to obtain more value out of it, more than just one random demon. Not to mention that the demons that you can obtain can be extremely varied, as we have seen before. They can be all from like a Voidwalker or a Flame Imp, which is, it's not that impressive, all the way to, I don't know, Jiraxus maybe. And yeah, in that case, it can be pretty good. But yeah, it's hard to judge, but I think it will see very limited play in maybe some control decks because, yeah, as I said, it's very hard to obtain multiple value out of it. Just like it's the same problem with Torisan. It's slightly better because it has slightly bigger stats, but it will still be like an immediate threat that will demand an answer. So yeah, unless you're really lucky, you're not going to get more than one, maybe two demons in the best case scenario out of it. In arena, I think it's pretty solid. It's a 6 mana, 6/6. 6/6 is nothing to scoff at in arena, and yeah, the additional value that you can get out of it is pretty good. So yeah, I think it's a very solid card for arena, especially if you can also get some like demon synergy out there. If you happen to have some, it could be pretty good. And finally, we have the Warlock Legendary Cruel the Unshackled. It's a 9 mana 7/9, another Reno style, kind of card, similar. Basically, all the Cabal faction legendaries are Reno style, and that's the main idea of the Cabal. If your deck has no duplicates, summon all demons from your hand. So, a very strong board tempo push, so similar to like Deathwing Dragon Lord, but it's for 9 mana, and it's a battle cry effect instead of a death rattle, so the opponent cannot really play around it. Now there are a few issues with this card. Obviously, the fact that it summons demons from your hand, is a little bit problematic because you are losing them from your hand. They're not summoned like copies out of it, just like Nazot does. I do think that they like put them from your hand. I'm not sure. There's still a few issues, like I've mentioned in the previous videos before, with that pirate and with like Dirty Rat and a few other cards. I'm not sure if the summon all demons from your hand mean that they summon copies from the demons in your hand, or whether they actually like take them from your hand. If they summon copies, then it's very good. Obviously, it's very solid. If it summons them from your hand, then it's like slightly weaker because if the opponent happens to have like a massive board clear to follow this up, then it just completely clears the board next turn, with a brawl or a twisting nether. Plus, it's also problematic because you have some demons, that have like strong battle cries. For example, Jiraxes that you really don't want to get out of your hand. That's a little bit of a problem. And yeah, the other problem is that there's not really that many demons that you really play in a warlock control deck that you play and keep in your hands that you would want to get out with this guy. That's the main issue. Like, apart from Doomguard, which obviously has a very good effect if it's summoned without like its battle cry, and I guess you can put in maybe an imp gang boss, maybe a few more kind of guys. The new Abyssal Enforcer has a pretty solid body, but again, you're not getting its battle cry. And maybe Jiraxus, even if you just consider it as a body. But yeah, that's the problem. you don't really have that many demons that you put in a regular warlock deck. So for this card to see play, it will need to make a completely new demon Reno warlock, and once again, there's no Mal'Ganis, so it's kind of difficult to see how how this card will and if this card will see much play. It's gonna be very very close, and it will depend on whether the or not the summon thing means that it takes them from your hand or it makes copies. If it makes copies, then it's obviously very strong, and it will probably make a deck in that regard, because you can play this guy, summon copies from your hand of all your demons, make a giant board. Sure, your opponent might be able to deal with it with a massive board clear, but you will still have the demons in your hand, and you will still be able to play them, afterwards, like one after the other, if you actually need to. So, pretty solid legendary. What can I say? But it's gonna be a very its constructed use is gonna be very close, and it's gonna be dependent on that little thing. And yeah, in arena, in arena, I don't think it will be that good, simply because it's very slow and you're not very likely to have that many demons. But if you can, then it could be a good legendary for arena. If you can also ensure that you have no duplicates, don't forget about that. Very important thing, no duplicates. Uh, yeah, probably playable. Let's just put it like this, like my final opinion on it. Probably playable. All right, finally we have Warrior with a few new cards. We have Public Defender at 2 mana 0/7 taunt. Well, I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's pretty good with the buff in hand kind of cards, especially with the new Stolen Goods card, that 2 mana spell that buffs a taunt with +3/+3. You can basically coin Stolen Goods on turn one and then play this guy on turn two as a free 10 with taunt, which is pretty freaking massive. Like, probably nothing will get past it without a hard removal or a silence. So yeah, it's pretty good in it's okay if you are facing like a sort of very aggro meta, a very aggro and face oriented meta, but and it's also good that it has taunt, and it synergizes a little bit with a few taunt cards. The Blizzard is still trying to push taunt warrior. Let's not forget about that. And if after this expansion Taunt Warrior doesn't take off, then it's never going to take off. Like, let's be serious. It now has everything. It has Bolster. It has like Protect the King. It has King's Defender. It has Stolen Goods. It has some taunts. It has the whole Grim Street mechanics, which hopefully it will be good. If even after this expansion, Taunt Warrior is not going to, take its wing, then it's never going to get it, and we should bury that deck forever and ever. But yeah, as I said, mostly a good card if you're facing an extremely aggressive meta. But I still think if that's the case, Doomsayer is probably better, because you can retake control of the board, while this guy, just takes a little bit of punishment and dies without having much of an effect. So yeah, unless you can target it with Stolen Goods specifically, I don't think this is a very good card, and it's definitely not good in arena. As I said, it doesn't have any impact on the board. It could be good if you can use it like to protect a damaged minion, so you can get another trade out of it. But apart from that, it's really not a good card. Then we have a new spell for Warrior, a very cool and interesting spell. Sleep with the Fishes. 2 mana, deal 3 damage to all damaged minions. So it's a cool card, and it's a spell that Warrior kind of needed. The problem is that Warrior didn't really have like early board clears. Warrior only had like they do have very efficient removal in the terms of Fiery War Axe and Bash and Execute and Shield Slam, and they do have the very strong board clear in form of Brawl, but that's at 5 mana, and there's are only two of them, and you usually keep them for like as a last resort, and it obviously struggled a lot with like some sort of early game board clears. Obviously, Whirlwind and Ghoul with just one damage are not good enough, and Revenge. It's only good once you get below 12 HP, so it's kind of dangerous to wait until then in order to use Revenge. But now with Sleep with the Fishes, this might help a warrior with having that. The card can very obviously be comboed with like Whirlwind to get like a turn free for damage board clear. Whirlwind everything, and then Sleep with the Fishes. You have 4 damage to everything on turn 3. Or we can play it with Ghoul on turn 5. This card basically reminds me a lot of like Ocean Ice Circle, and this is where also its issues are. The problem is that it's a two-card combo. Just like Ocean Ice Circle, and you are not always going to be likely to draw it. It's you can obtain a strong like a 4 damage board clear on turn 3, or a 4 damage board clear on turn 5 together with a free body, but you do need two cards in order to trigger it, and that's not going to happen all that often in order to to draw both of those cards. And the second problem is like this card is really kind of dependent on those damage dealing cards. I mean, sure, you can also use it to like as a removal. You can damage a minion and then play this card to like finish it off. But that's not really the main reason why you put it. And since it's a two-card combo, in order to draw it more consistently, you'll want to put two of them into your deck, and then the problem becomes, okay, then what cards do I take out in order to have to sleep with the fishes? And this is where it becomes problematic with the deck building. It's a good card. As I said, it's a very solid early board clear, but it's dependent on on a combo that you must draw, and that doesn't happen every time. Everyone is gonna tell you how many matches they could have won if they had like Equality Pyromancer or Equality Consecration or Frost Nova Doomsayer or Ocean Ice Circle. Every time there's a two-card combo, the chance is that you're going to have the two-card combo in order to clear the board at the right time is going to be smaller than if it were a single card. So that's my main idea of it. And in Arena, it's pretty bad because in Arena you're less likely to consistently draw those area-wide, board clears. Sure, in Arena and in Wild you can also have Dead Spite, so there's an extra card that can do that, but you're less likely to draw them. And since it's so conditional, I don't think that you should pick it in Arena, even if you have the opportunity to pick it. It's an epic card, so you're not going to see that often. So it might see some constructed play in Control Warrior, as I said, as an early combo removal, and that might be about it, and not much else in Arena or anything else. And finally, we have the Warrior Legendary, which is Hopard Grapple Hammer. 2 mana, 2/2, Battle Cry, give all weapons in your hand and deck +1 attack. So, similar to Mistcaller, although this guy is probably a little bit better than Mistcaller. A 2 mana, 2/2 is not that great, but it's better than a 6 mana 4/4. Like the tempo loss that you have from this card can be gained back, because it's still like early game and you can still like, you still have time to like fight back, and yeah, that's the main idea of it. You don't like completely lose out, just like with Mistcaller happened every time, and that's why I didn't see any play. Now the problem is that it only buffs weapons and it only buffs the attack of weapons, so it's gonna be really problematic. Like, where do you use this minion? Like, you will need something that has like a lot of weapons, but you don't want to have too many weapons, and the only classes, like the only warrior decks that have a lot of weapons are mostly like aggro warrior decks. And in an aggro warrior deck, I mean, it works well, it gives the weapons +1 attack so you can get more damage out of them, but it's a very weak minion, and you really don't want that in an aggro deck. So yeah, and it's only +1 attack. It's not +1/+1. It doesn't buff the durability of the weapon. If it did that, then it would be like an absolutely broken card. But since it only buffs attack, like it's okay. It basically increases either the damage of the weapon when using it to face, or the reach of the weapon if you're using it to like trade with minions. And I mean, in some certain cases you definitely want that extra point of health. For example, you can play this guy with a coin on turn one, and then you have the ability to deal with the totem golem on turn two with fiery war axe, which will be a 4/2, and that's obviously a pretty solid like board swing. But yeah, it's that's the main issue of it. I don't think, like, it's a strong effect. It's a card that has a lot of potential, but I don't think it's really strong enough in order to see play especially in the fact that it needs a deck to be designed around it in order to be viable. And yeah, that's my main problem with this card. Now, finally, we have the neutral cards. First off, we have a few neutral legendaries. Starting off, we have Mayor Noggenfogger. This card, this card is pretty hilarious. 9 mana, 5/4. All targets are chosen randomly. So you thought Yogg-Saron was random? Wait until you see Mayor Noggenfogger. So yeah, this is a very very interesting, cool card. Obviously it's like very very understated for its cost. 9 mana for 5/4. It's like very very poor. However, its effect is extremely powerful. Like, you remember that annoying ogre that it was in GVG. That made all minions have like a 50% chance to miss. Now imagine that applied not only to minions, but also to your hero power and to your spells and to your opponent's spells as well. Like, it's an absolute, like, an entire mess out of this card. And that's the problem with it. So it could have some, apart from like the hilarity of this card, and how much people will use it just like troll other ones. It can have some tactical use. It can be good against like combo decks, or like decks that try to like finish you off. If you play this card like um basically like before their combo turn, then it can really like mess up their combos, because they can throw around their spells. They can hit themselves in their face, they can hit their own minions, they can hit Mayor Noggenfogger, so even that guy can absorb some damage. Like, imagine a freeze mage that tries to Alexstrasza you down from 30 HP to 15, and it accidentally does that to himself. That's a pretty massive miss. If that happens, the freeze mage guy is in a hell of a lot of a trouble. Now, obviously, it's very weak to like board clears by turn 9. Most of the classes will have board clears, and board clears don't care about choosing targets. It dies to flame strike, it dies to a bunch of other things. But yeah, the effect is like, it's very strong and has like a lot of like comedic potential. Let's just put it that way. At the same time, you must remember that it also fucks up your target. So if you play it, you say, okay, you're safe from your opponent killing you. You're on your turn. Then you have to remember then that your turn is going to come, and okay, now what you're going to do? Are you going to attack? Do you risk casting spells, considering that you might cast them on your own guy? Or your own face? I don't think so. So yeah, it's a car with some tactical value, but a lot of comedic value. It might see some play a little bit, but it probably won't see much play past the beginning phase where people are trying out with cards. And I don't think it's a very good pick in arena either. Like, it just completely ruins the game for both you and your opponent. If you like that kind of things, if you think it's funny, then you can play it, you can choose it and play it. But Basically, winning the game becomes like a coin flip at that point. Then we have Rathion, another legendary with a very interesting effect, a 6 mana 4/5 taunt, battle cry, draw cards until you draw one that isn't a dragon. So it's a potentially infinite card draw as long as you keep drawing dragons, you know. So it's very similar to the Curator, you know, it has taunt, it's a conditional draw, but unlike the Curator, where you know exactly, or for the most part, you know what you're gonna draw. In this case, unless the you know for certain that the rest of your deck is only dragons, you can't really know for sure like what you're going to draw. You know, you're going to draw at least one card guaranteed. But the thing is that even in dragon decks, you are going to have like board clears, removals, dragon synergy cards that are usually not dragons. So yeah, that's where the problem, arises. You know, if you just play it and you draw only one card, it's not really that good. If you play it and you draw two cards, it's decent. You know, it's probably viable. And obviously, from three or more cards, it becomes like very strong. But then the other question arises, like, where do you play this card? I don't think this card is very good in control decks because I'm not sure, like, you don't really want to draw that many cards necessarily because you can end up milling yourself or getting closer to fatigue. So I think this card, if it will see any play, it will probably in some sort of like tempo dragon decks, like we have seen out there with like tempo dragon warrior. And I'm not sure if there will be any other. I don't think priest can do a tempo dragon warrior kind of deck, or paladin for that matter. But it's maybe possible, but yeah, that's the idea of it. It will need to be a sort of like a more active and aggressive kind of deck, that you play cards, and then when you're like when you're sort of running out of cards, you play this guy and you hope to like draw at least like two or three cards, so yeah, you're kind of like, compared to the Curator, you're kind of sacrificing consistency for potential. Obviously this card has a lot of potential. You can draw three or four or five cards, you can draw the rest of your deck if you only have dragons, but it can also draw you only one card, in which case it's not that good, and you really can't control that. Afterwards we have Genzo the Shark, which is a 4 mana 5/4. Whenever this attacks, both players draw until they have three cards. So it's kind of like kind of like a Jeeves. People missed the old GVs, and now you have this guy. It's an okay card. I mean, it's sort of as with Jeeves, is a sort of card that you might want to use in like a sort of an aggressive or possibly zoo deck. But unlike Jeeves, which draws at the end of the turn, for this guy you have to like play him and attack with him in order to get value from its effect. And while 4 mana 5/4 is balanced, it's not good enough for constructed, unfortunately. Well, constructed is way more broken at a 4 mana 5/4, and yeah, I don't think you will want to play this in an aggressive deck. I think there are like better cards out there, so this is why I don't think it will have really that much utility, or that much use in constructed. If it will have, as I said, it will be probably useful in an aggressive deck, but yeah, even in that kind of deck, I mean, your opponent will probably figure out that you're playing an aggressive deck and you're playing this card, and they can very easily remove it, and then your entire, like, if you base your draw engine on this card, then you're better off putting a Cold Light Oracle, I think. And in Arena, I don't think its effect is really that strong to warrant like Arena usage. It's okay stat wise, but from a legendary, we want more than just raw stats. So it's probably not very good in Arena either. Alright, have a few more. We have a new legendary, which is Sergeant Sally. This is a legendary that one of my friends is very excited about. 3 mana 1/1, Death Rattle, deal damage equal to this minion's attack to all enemy minions. So it has a few combo potential for like clearing the board. Obviously, you can have the strongest one that you can imagine is with like Power Overwhelming. You can play it on turn 4, Power Overwhelm it, and it deals 5 damage to all enemy minions on turn 4. That is a pretty strong effect. There are a few more combos with like Cold Blood and Blessing of Might, which function similarly. They deal 4 or 5 damage, but once again, it's unlike with Power Overwhelming, they don't die right away, and it's a Death Rattle effect, which means that the opponent will have the ability to like play around it, or like silence it. And the problem with this, as I said with the previous card, with Sleep with the Fishes, it's another board clear that requires a combo, and whenever it requires, a 2 card combo, it's gonna be less likely that you get it. And whenever it requires a 2 card combo, out of each one of the cards, it's a legendary that you can only have one of in a deck, then you're really going to be struggling to get this combo out. So yeah, it can see some play in some control decks. I think the best deck in for this card would be like in a Grime Street Goons deck, because in that kind of case you can like also buff it up, so you can have like a decent body, and then it has like the additional Death Rattle effect, to like pair it up with it. But yeah, I don't really think it will see that much play apart from that kind of cards, because as we know from Whispers of the Old Gods about like strong strong cards that like have powerful board clear effects on Death Rattle, and I'm talking about none other than the Mage Legendary Anomalous. That card pretty much saw absolutely no play, so that's why I have my doubts on whether this card might see play. It is better than Anomalous because it's cheaper, so you can get it out there earlier and clear the board, unlike Anomalous where you have to wait for turn 8. But as I said, the opponent can pretty easily play around it, and to have it just for the Power Overwhelming combo, I don't think it's really good enough. So it's a card that has a cool combo, but a very restrictive combo, and it will see like probably limited play in both arena and constructed. I mean in both constructed and arena. In arena, it also see very limited play for the same reason that you can't really get buffs that reliably. Moving along ahead, we have a new epic, Defias Cleaner, 6 mana, 5/7, silence a minion with Death Rattle. So, I mean, it's better statted than like Spellbreaker, but the problem is that it's like it's more restrictive. You can only silence a minion with Death Rattle. Now, obviously, there are a lot of like annoying Death Rattle minions out there, so you could run it as a tech card for dealing with like Cairn or Sylvanas or Tyrion. But the problem is that it's very very situational, and like the thing is that your silences are very rare, and even if you run them, you only run one as a tech card. And if you were to run one silence as a tech card, I don't see why I wouldn't run the cheaper version, Spellbreaker, that allows you to silence and then play something else, rather than the big guy, the 6 mana guy, that even though he has like bigger stats, the fact that it's 6 mana limits both when you can play it, what you can play with it, and it has the limitation on what you can silence with it. So yeah, that's why I don't think this card will see that much play. Similar to to the other card, Light's Champion. The 3 mana for free that silence a demon. You might say, yeah, it's a cool card. It has decent stats and it has the additional ability to silence a demon, which could come in handy. Well, nobody played that card, so I don't think anyone will play this card. There probably will be some attempts to play this card as a tech card, as a one-off in some sort of weird Reno decks. But as I said, I think you're probably better off with Spellbreaker. Uh, that's my opinion, at least. As for Arena, uh, it's not terrible, but I think there are stronger epic cards out there. So unless you are really like out for broke for choices, I think you're better off choosing something else. I don't know, like a Blubber Baron, for example. Actually, that's not this is not very good in arena either. It's a 3 mana 1/1. Whenever you summon a battle cry minion while this is in your hand, gain +1/+1. So it's a minion that benefits from battle cry while it is in your hand. So it's okay. It's an interesting card, but I think just like with many other epic cards that I've mentioned in the previous episode, I don't think it will see that much play. The thing is that it needs to have like you need to play at least 3 Battlecry minions with him in your hand for him to be okay. So you need to get him in your hand, which means that he personally is a dead draw, and then you need to play other Battlecry minions in order to buff it. And the other problem with it is that if you just keep it and you keep playing Battlecry minions just to make this guy bigger, we already know from cards like Bolvar 4 Dragon that the opponent is going to notice that you're just like playing and you're holding to one card, and they're going to try and save a removal for that one card. And even if you like keep it until the late game and you play it like a giant 2020, let's say, for 3 mana, which is pretty solid, your opponent will still be able to deal with it unless you, I don't know, you play it with like a low tab maybe in wild. But even that is like sort of a fringe situation. So yeah, I don't think this will see that much play either, unfortunately, in constructed, and it's probably not very good in arena either, for the same reasons. In arena you're also less likely to draw battle cry minions anyway, so yeah, it's not that great. Moving along ahead. Goddamn, I'm getting pretty tired. We have a few more cards and then the conclusion. First off, we have Weasel Tunneler. So it's a very cool card. A 1 mana 1/1. Death Rattle shuffle this minion into your opponent's deck. So it's another card that just can that can like just shift from one deck to another like endlessly, similar to like Excavated Evil. So yeah, it's a cool card. Its idea of it is like to play it in order to like have your opponent have a dead draw. So again, if you are playing against an opponent that is like very dependent on getting like consistent draw, and you're playing against an opponent that it really needs to draw the lethal damage in order to kill you, and it draws this guy. In that kind of case, it's a good card. However, that is a very situational kind of aspect, and similar with Excavated Evil. At least Excavated Evil had an effect. At least you could use it to clear the board. This is just a 1 mana 1/1. So why would you want to sacrifice a deck slot from your deck in order to put a 1 mana 1/1 that can have the possibility to like screw up the draw of your opponent? Like it's a very sort of like long term planning kind of thing. So it's a fun card. It could be a fun tech card, but I really don't see it played. I mean, you could play it like as a zoo deck and try to play it in order to like make it less likely for them to draw the board clear, or you can play it in a control deck, and when you're playing as a tech card against a combo deck. But in both of these situations, it's a very very situational card, and as fun as this card is and as fun as this card looks, I once again, as with many other cards, I know it's very disappointing. It will probably not see much play in either arena or construct. Alright, we're back. Just had to reset my recording. I've been recording for over an hour, so as I said, they just released like a ton of cards overnight, so this is gonna be a gigantic video. Moving on ahead, we have a small time Buccaneer, 1 mana 1/2 pirate that has +2 attack while you have a weapon equipped, so similar to Cog Master from GVG, that 1 mana 1/2 that gained +2 attack when you had a mech. And that card was pretty good in mech decks, so I think this card could be pretty good in pirate decks. It's obviously pretty good in like rogue because you can guarantee that you'll have a weapon on turn 2 thanks to your hero power. So you can play it on turn 1 and then follow it up with a hero power and it becomes a free 2. So it's an okay like on curve play. It's okay in warrior, I guess, because the warrior has fiery war axe, so once again you can play it on curve. For the other classes, I mean, you can make pirate decks for any class that has like weapons, but I don't think they're really that good. So yeah, I think this is a pretty cool card and could have a. It does have some potential. It could see some play, as I said, in Pirate Rogue, and it is necessary to have another pirate to replace the Buccaneer that will shift out with the new standard cycle that will come in a few months. And this guy is pretty solid in that regard. So yeah, I think it's a okay in Pirate Rogue and maybe Pirate Warrior. Apart from that, it's not that good. You're not gonna put this in Mage or Priest or anything like that. It's just stupid. So yeah, it could see some play over there. And in Arena, again, if you're playing as Rogue, then you could be fine to draft these, unless the other rare cards are better. But if the other cards are not that great and you're playing as Rogue, then Small Time Buccaneer can be an okay pick in Arena as Rogue, maybe even as Warrior if you draft enough weapons. But yeah, so a good card in Pirate decks, not so special in anything else. Then we have new Taunt, Ancient of Blossoms, 6 mana, free 8. Um, this card is really not that impressive. I mean, I don't see why would you play this card when you can wait one more turn and play Bog Creeper, which is like so much more efficient. 7 mana, 6/8. It's so much better statted. And the problem with this card, I think the problem with this card is just one stat point, that could have to make it playable. Because you look like Bog Creeper, and you have a 7 mana 6/8 taunt, and you calculate 6 plus 8 is 14, which is the double of 7. That's what you're looking at for stats of most cards, with the exception of like one drops, which have a slightly different rule. For the most part, you want to have like the stats of the card must be double their mana cost plus a little effect, and in the case of the Bog Creeper is the taunt. Now, in this case, the case of the Ancient of Blossom, you have like 3 plus 8, which is 11, which is below the double of 6, which is 12, and the taunt, it's not good enough. So, if it were like a 4/8, or I think better if it were like a 3/9, then it might see some play, as an anti-aggro card for like budget decks, or for arena maybe. But as it is right now, it's a pretty poor card. I don't think it will see. It will definitely not see any play in constructed, and maybe you can pick it in arena if you have like very bad choices for other common cards. I can't really imagine what else you can choose. A new card that has a very cool effect that I think the game really kind of needed, and so far it was only restricted to Flare from Hunter, is the Streetwise Investigator. 5 mana, 4/6, battle cry, enemy minions lose stealth. So, just a simple counter to stealth. I don't know, as some people have said, I don't know why Blizzard had to wait for like 5 expansions to implement like a neutral counter to stealth. I mean, the thing is that stealth is not really that frequently encountered, and even if you encounter stealth minions, you're most likely going to deal with them with like a massive board clear, and not so much with like removing stealth and then deal with them. But I still think that this is a very good card to have. It's a very good that this card exists. All those kind of like I said that there are many like sort of situational cards, and this card is another situational card, and this is why the main reason why I don't think it will see much constructed play. But it's very good that it exists because it does create more dynamic to the game. There are, in certain places of the game, not at the high level of constructed, at the lower ranks where people like try to struggle with all sorts of different card combinations, or in arena, then this card might be pretty good. This card might be like what it needs to like change the dynamic of a game in a certain particular situation. You could have like, for example, let's put a completely outlandish scenario. You could have like what's it called, a Shadow Rager from Rogue that is stealthed. It can be buffed by the 4 mana guy, and it could remain in stealth as a 7/3, and that is a pretty scary minion. And then you can just counter it with like a Streetwise Investigator and a removal, and there you have it. So that's why I think that it is very good for these cards to exist. But once again, as I said, it's probably very situational. It probably not see much play in constructed. Maybe it will see some play in arena, but even there it will be relatively limited. Then we have a red mana worm, another kind of card where they said, this kind of card is pretty good. Let's just make a bigger variant of it. 5 mana 2/6. Whenever you cast a spell, gain +2 attack. Now the main issue with it is that it's just way way too expensive. I mean, we already have what we had like Scaled Nightmare, which was a 6 mana 2/8 that doubled its attack at the end of this turn, and that didn't see any play whatsoever. For red mana worm, it does that, like you need to have spells in order to do that, and it's like 5 mana and it only has like 6 health. So yeah, it's really not that great. It could see some play in some sort of like decks that have very cheap spells, possibly some Miracle Rogue, Miracle Druid, something like Mage. But the main idea of like Mana Worm, the regular Mana Worm, and why it's so strong, it's because it's like very strong for its mana cost. It's a 1 mana 1/3. You can play it on turn one. It can easily get out of control if you don't deal with it. This one, however, it's 5 mana. It's like way way slower. By turn five, most of the guys will have like a hard removal for it. And I mean, it does grow with +2 attacks, so it grows a little bit stronger. But as I said, it's very slow. It's much harder to combo with spells in the same turn. And yeah, I don't think it will see that much constructed play either. I know it's been a very pessimistic episode, this one. It in arena, it depends on how many spells you can draft, but I don't think it's really that good in arena either. Moving along ahead, come on, we have like 3 more cards. We have the Naga Corsair, yet another like very good balanced card that will probably not see any play because it's just too balanced. 4 mana 5/4 pirate, so solid stats for a 4 drop. Battle cry, give your weapon +1 attack. So this is what I mean. This is how the cards should have been if the game wanted to have any sort of like reasonable balance into it. You have a reasonably statted 4 drop, which has an additional advantage, conditional advantage if you have like a weapon equipped. So yeah, to gain +1 attack. But unfortunately, constructed is formed out of way more broken synergy, and I don't think this thing will be is really strong enough to see some play, even in pirate decks. I mean, even if you play pirate decks, I don't think you'd play a 4 mana 5/4 pirate just to buff your weapon for +1 attack. Uh, I mean, if you're rogue, you can play Buccaneer, and that's fine. But Naga Corsair, yeah, I don't think it'll cut it. It's pretty okay in arena, at least. It's in arena, if you are playing like a weapon class, and if you have a few weapons, then I think this card is quite okay. It's a solid 4 drop, and you can get the additional weapon attack value out of it, and that's pretty good. But for as constructed, as far as constructed is concerned, probably not so much. And then we have Street Trickster, a common neutral demon. This is, I think, the only like the second neutral demon implemented after like Illidan. It's a 3 mana 0/7 spell damage +1. So yeah, it's kind of mm, I the main idea of this demon is to like you can play it on turn 3, and since it has like a very big health, it's much more difficult to be killed on that turn, and then on the next turn you have like spell damage. But the problem is that with zero attack, it just doesn't contest the board at all, so your opponent can easily ignore it and just rush you down to the face, or you can even kill it, if they really feel threatened by it and they don't lose any minion doing so. So yeah, I the fact that it's free mana, it's obviously like pretty slow in that regard, and I don't think it's really that good. It's obviously countered by a lot of things like Shadow Word Pain, Kodo, Stampeding Kodo, Bookworm, not to mention like the Crazed Alchemist and the Cookie Chemist now that appears, that just like flips their stats and it just dies. That's a pretty sad way for it to go. And yeah, if you really need spell damage, I don't see why we wouldn't play the cheaper one like Kobold Geomancer or Blood Mage Talnos. That's why I don't think this card will see that much play. I think the main reason why this card has been implemented is, as I mentioned before, to nerf the demon spawning cards, because there have been some, stronger demon added. The 9 mana 7/9 legendary, and even the abyssal enforcer, and to a lesser degree even the 3 mana 5/5, in order to nerf the potential to obtain those from the cards that generate demons. You have the Street Trickster, which is more of a lackluster demon. Yeah, as I said, won't see much play in either constructed or arena. And finally, we have like the ultimate garbage card. Like, god damn, why does this card even have to exist? Gadgetzan Socialite. 2 mana, 2/2, Battlecry, restore 2 health. Like seriously, there is Voodoo Doctor out there, and almost like absolutely nobody plays Voodoo Doctor. Like absolutely never ever played Voodoo Doctor. Like you only play it if you're playing Dark Peddler and you get it as a random effect from Dark Peddler. That's the only moments that you play Voodoo Doctor, and even then you're pre like uh you're debating pretty much whether to pick him. And even in arena, Voodoo Doctor is almost not played at all. And then you have this guy which costs 1 extra mana, and the only thing that it has in extra is 1 extra health. Like, it's such garbage, dude. It's just absolutely rubbish. If it was like a 2/3 or a 3/2, then it may be good enough for arena play. But as it stands, it's just like absolute trash. So yeah, I don't think if there is any cars that deserve the dusted, tag, just like it was with Backstreet Leper, Gadgetzan Socialite is kind of the same. So yeah, this has been pretty much with these Mean Streets of Gadgetzan expansions. Hope you guys have enjoyed watching all these videos. Hope you guys have had the patience to follow me through all these videos. Has been quite an adventure. I can't wait to play with this card. The expansion will be rolling out soon. It might be out by the time you see this episode, depending on when I upload it and where you see it and where you are. And yeah, my general predictions for the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan expansion will be sort of like this. Shaman, mid-range Shaman will probably still remain a very solid deck. Obviously, it will be contested by the new decks that will come out there, so it will need to adapt. It might drop a tier, maybe it might drop a tier to like tier 2, but I think it will still remain a very powerful deck until the next standard rotation. What else? Uh, we might priest is going to get like a massive buff because everyone has been complaining about it. So now they got a massive buff. We might see a new control priest rising out. Dragon priest might come out and be pretty good, and a new Reno shadow form priest might come out and might be pretty solid. I'm not sure if they're gonna be good enough to become tier one, but they're obviously going to be way better than what priest currently has, and it's definitely going to be pretty solid decks. Rogue has got like the worst of this expansion. Most of the cards are not really that impressive, and Pirate Rogue might become a thing maybe. With a few of the cards, but it's like very. Pirate Rogue has never been like a very good deck archetype, and what it has, even with the cards that they are, even as good as they are, I don't think they are good enough. Stealth Rogue is not really going to ever become a thing because the thing is that its minions that have stealth are usually like below average, and having just one card that just buffs them that is really not good enough. If Rogue was to become a thing, it would have become like way before, with cards like Conceal and Master of Disguise. As such, Rogue is pretty like it's not going to change, and it didn't get really as much as other classes, in terms of like cards, and it didn't get like combat mechanics. So the Jade Golem Rogue is also not going to be that good, and yeah, it's rather unfortunate. The warrior, if warrior might see like some play with like taunt warrior. If taunt warrior doesn't lift off after this expansion, that it will never ever lift off. As for the other things, we might see some new decks popping out for warrior, and the same for paladin and hunter with the Grime Street goons. Obviously, like the best of them is are the Hunter because of the Dispatch Kodo and the Rat Pack and even Knuckles. And if there are going to be any strong like Grime Street goon based deck, it's probably going to be with Hunter and not so much with like Paladin or Warrior. Warlock has been getting like sort of a push towards Demon Warlock, which is pretty cool and pretty interesting, but it remains to be seen if it's like good enough to make a new kind of deck archetype. And it also got like some strong removals, so I guess it's not all too bad. Mage got some pretty cool cards for like Reno Mage. Reno Mage has been somewhat popular, in the past, and with the new Ink Master Solia and Manic Soulcaster, it might become, and obviously with the Cabal cards like Cabal Courier, Kazakus, possibly Cabal Chemist, it might see even more play. As for the others, kind of mages, Tempo Mage is not going to change, and it's probably going to remain to a similar power level, maybe decrease a little bit. Same goes with Freeze Mage. Shaman will probably see the rise of a new control shaman with the new cards, with White Eyes and with Genie Water Speaker. And also like Jade Golem Shaman could become a thing, since Shaman has like the strongest combat mechanics out of all the Jade faction. And if there is any new deck that is going to like completely come out, it's probably going to be like Fatigue Druid, which with like the Jade Idol is going to like completely uh like change whatever fatigue means. With Jade Idol, any deck that will try to become to do fatigue will not be able to do if it's not Druid, and if it doesn't have Jade Idol. So yeah, Druid, we might see some interesting like attempts at like control Druid with some possible combo Druid with like Kun the Forgotten King. With Mark of the Lostus and Pilfered Power, we might see some, Zoo Druid being attempted and such, but yeah, probably not to a very good extent, and probably like the Jade Lotus is going to be like the only thing that it will have apart from what it currently has, the Maligos one. So yeah, those are my overall general predictions of this expansion. So not much will change until the standard rotates out. When it does, then it's gonna be very interesting indeed. But so far, Priest is gonna get a buff. Uh, Shaman is gonna remain mostly the same. There will be some new Hunter, Warrior, Paladin decks. There will be some new Druid, Rogue, uh, something, Warlock decks, and yeah, that's pretty much my idea of it. So hope you guys enjoyed watching. This has been Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, last and final card review. See you guys at the expansion, and yeah, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to see more, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.